Today on One Man Garage, we're going to do another quad adaptation to a 4150 style flange of this AFB 389 intake manifold that I have on this 69 Le Mans 350. Been running a big 750 Edelbrock on it, and I'm ready to get a much improved gas mileage with my Oldsmobile Quadrajet off my red wagon. The wagon has recently been upgraded to a 79 403 800 Quadrajet with very great results, and I wanted to try this one, lean down just a little bit more and see how it should act on this 350. So this is one of our long distance cruiser old cars, so we'd like to, get the MPGs where they ought to be. I think this car should be able to hit 18 miles a gallon cruising. It's not asking a lot, but it's a long way from where it is with that Edelbrock. So anyway, I'm going to start pulling this stuff off. Well, got the adapter about ready to put on once we figure out the gasket seat, because this old AFB pattern GM manifold has the small bolt pattern like a Quadrajet. So might have some issues now that I think about it, because I would have to stud the Quadrajet all the way through instead of the long bolts I brought, because that's the small bolt pattern for the adapter here. So also I opened up the 4 holes into a high flow and plant them, just kind of a trick if I use this manifold later on a like a hotter engine underneath instead of this original 350. My original plan was to just switch over to a 650 AVS2 carburetor my friend had I was going to trade for. So it just sort of depends on how the gaskets go. Like if I was using the adapter, I would use the Quadrajet 4 hole or the open gasket on top. But I got to use the inside pattern, so I'm going to have to use long studs or bolts. But I do have I have an original competition 750 AFB I picked up, and I got a kit for that original AFB. So as long as I have a base gasket here that fits to the edges of the ovals on that, I can just get long studs and we should be good to go. Plus there's some vacuum. There's a manifold vacuum source there. One of those two I'm gonna have to use for power brake. One would have been PCV, so I'm gonna have to probably plug one, probably the deep hole one. And I don't know if I'm gonna put a 90 in it or what. This carburetor has a PCV fitting in the front, so that's where I would put the PCV. I could just put a power brake to the other manifold source and run a longer hose. Just some little quirky things when you're mixing your models and different carbs. A Pontiac carburetor would have the power booster on the back of the carburetor, and then the PVC goes in the front, usually to the manifold directly. But on this intake, the PCV valve was in the rear of the engine, not in the front like here. So what I really want is a correct 69 intake, and I actually have one, but it's kind of like my ported manifold that I use on a 455, and I'm not willing to just give it up on this 350 right now. So we'll see what happens. Well, today I'm going to do something not the correct way, but I need to see this through today. Actually, in the very front edge of my area there, when I took the old one off, I noticed it looked like the gasket had come off the edge and didn't actually quite seal. May have been causing some of my cold startup conditions or something, even though the thing had idled really good. But so I just did what most people would do, and silicone under where the gasket is. Up in here there was a dead area, and I just put it up high and a little bit on the lip and squish the gasket down on it, and then just fold the little edge seam on there. I got the studs in the back, and we're just going to lay the adapter on there and keep progressing forward. Well, due to having so much crap around, I was able to find a nice new gray vacuum plug for that 5/16 vacuum down there, and this handy carb power brake boost adapter that had the little tiny pipe threads to fit the manifold. It adapted up to that common size reverse flare like you find on a Quadrajet fuel inlet or on some power brake fittings on the back of carbs. So got those studs in there and got the sticky stuff on. So now we're gonna drop down this particular spacer. I had slotted and stuck a piece of metal to try to create a divided deal back when I was fooling around with an S10 I had that was pretty fast little truck. Had Quadrajet, the same Quadrajet I just put on the truck yesterday, back around 20 years ago. Had a 194 150 valve, 194 1.5 valve Vortec head, like a 99 truck head on a 406 small block with a hydraulic flat tappet cam and HEI. Had a little S10 and just a little cheap foot brake, fun little bracket truck, and it ran like 1140 in the quarter all motor, like 115 miles an hour, and ran 7 2s and 3s in the 8th mile, like 1.5 60 foot time with the Quadrajet, no trans brake, just launching off idle basically, hitting it. And, anyway, I managed to get that adapter back. A friend had it, and I was like, oh, I know where that's been. I got sentimental value on that. But anyway, enough of that. Let's get on with it. So embarrassingly, temporarily, because this is temporary, I just really want to do an MPG test on the carburetor. I had to use 2 of the thick open gaskets so that I could clear my adapted power brake vacuum, which could be done differently, but we're just going to stack them up deep and make it look cheap, you know. So the other thing is I want a 90 right here swivel. I just used one down here and I don't know if I have any more. It's getting hard to find online. So here's today's tech tip. Save your GM old power steering noses when you replace them. You know, they have the 2 sizes, but one of them that uses the 5/8 open end wrench is the same as the carb fitting. So we're going to use the old tubing cutter and have a nice little piece of pipe that we can clamp the hose to for free, made out of junk from scrap. Tony Stark could build it in a cave, you know what I'm saying? So I can do it. So that part cleaned up and cut it off, washed it in and out, fit perfectly. Got me a little zip tie, got my safer metal filter, not touching the engine, the line's not vibrating. See, transmission modulator hooked up to some ported vacuum. I'll have to get a T to share that vacuum line to the heater firewall vacuum, because this carburetor is lacking vacuum ports, and this isn't the permanent Quadrajet for this car either. And another thing, besides going to buy longer bolts, we're going to measure this with a tape measure from here to here plus threads. So we're going to need this distance from the bottom gasket top here plus at least a 1/2 inch for the threads in the bottom. So hopefully we'll go back to the hardware store and get that. And on your folks familiar with 60, 7, 8, 9 type Pontiacs or 70 models with this type bracket on the manifold, they come in 2-barrel and 4-barrel. This says T2, which probably stands for 2-barrel Tempest if I was a betting man, because it's a 2-barrel Tempest Le Mans type bracket. And the 4-barrel bracket and cable offsets more forward. That's why this doesn't reach to here. So that might be a cheesy zip tie or paper clip adaptation. I'm not sure yet. We got to overcome that and get these longer bolts and then tighten the 4 studs and be ready to turn it on. So I lifted the carb back off, did the 6-inch all thread because yeah, the bolt stopped at 4 inches at the store, like I was saying. Or I might have saw 5-inch, but I was like, we'll just do all thread 6-inch. It'll be fine. Well, he's running. Got a custom welding wire extension, throttle, better zip tie, I guess. Slightly oversized clip. And as soon as gas got in the carb, it cranked and idled immediately. Not flooded, idled it down low, and this whole baby's ready to go for a drive here soon. I've knocked the old poop off of it, and that's something I got to handle in 2022 is the bird perching in my garage. I've got these braces that are triangulate up in the ceiling and the roof there. I need to panel them off. We'll talk about that later. So how about that? Hello. Gas mileage improvement, and if this Quadrajet doesn't do it, we'll put a different one on it until it does, and then we'll find the correct 69 4-barrel intake, or use the one I have on a future episode of One Man Garage.